Thank you very much, Frank, and really appreciate that kind introduction. What a great man, great American. Appreciate his service as an astronaut and his report back to the United States from space after the terrible tragedy of 9/11. Anyway, just want to say how privileged and proud I am to be here this morning to be able to talk to you. Appreciate your kind invitation. And what a crowd. What a very great crowd. I think almost 1,000 people here, and last year was 700 and something, so if this trend continues, you're going to have to find a new place to have this meeting. Well, let's talk about the ISS. What an exciting subject to discuss. For decades, the defining task of space programs around the world has been leadership in one form or another. In the United States, NASA, the DoD, the private sector have all responded to space leadership challenges. All have had to demonstrate their own leadership in space while also coming to rely on space for leadership back here on Earth. This is something that we all know quite well from the Apollo program. Those missions proved that mankind has the means to support habitat on a lifeless world. But the space race was also a defining episode of the Cold War. The International Space Station is another important space leadership challenge, and not just for the United States, but also for all of our station partners. The premise of my talk and the challenge for all of us is very straightforward. How we lead on the ISS will directly affect how we lead in a sphere of influence that includes both the Earth and space. The particular mechanics of human expansion into space is a matter of strategic interest to every one of us. It will inform the way that our countries, laws, and institutions will or will not follow in the footsteps of our space explorers. What we do together on the ISS for the next 8 years, between now and 2024, will teach us how and why humans and their robotic proxies can expand our collective reach further into outer space. And let me briefly define my terms. I'm using the word strategic to describe something that touches on broad swaths of our daily lives and affects every one of us. Strategic issues are not necessarily military only, but also include economic, political, and other broad interests. A sphere of influence is a place that not only has strategic value, but also a place where we can act to change physical facts, a place that we can do something with, to, or at. Incorporating something into our sphere of influence means expanding our strategic ecosystem. However, before we expand our sphere of influence, we must explore. Planetary exploration missions reveal scientific truths. They also prove that humans or their proxies can go to and physically affect some location. As Dr. Michael Watkins, director of JPL, said in a recent talk here in Washington, exploration means visiting planets and turning them into worlds. Scientific investigation helps us to understand what is possible somewhere. Being there teaches us how to leverage those possibilities. Sending human or robot geologists to the moon or Mars proves that we have the resources, the technology, and industrial base necessary to deliberately alter the physical environment of another world. The ensuing geological investigation then tells us what we can do with this newfound ability to reach out and to touch things. Over the years, NASA's flagship human and robotic exploration missions have illustrated these two facets of exploration: learning about new places and learning how to do things there. These two steps are necessary, but not sufficient to bring a place into the human sphere of influence. However, one round of exploration may not be enough to bring a place into our strategic ecosystem. The Apollo program was unable to incorporate the moon into our strategic ecosystem. Half a century later, human-directed activity on the moon still has no significant effect on our daily lives. Moving beyond exploration into utilization and incorporating some place into our sphere of influence sometimes requires further exploration, deeper and scientific investigation, and much better technology. The ISS is an advanced exploration mission. It shows that humans can now sustain their own beyond the Earth's biosphere for a prolonged period. Indeed, people have continuously occupied the ISS since November the 2nd of 2000, almost 17 years. We now have good reason to believe that we could sustain human life in an Earth orbit for as long as we care to do so. The basic mission of the ISS is to improve our understanding of human presence in Earth orbit. The station has shown us all sorts of things that we can do in space. Now we need to figure just what it is that we intend to do with that capability. What can humans do in space better than our robotic proxies? Will these activities entail a continual or a periodic human presence? Can we expect to see large numbers of people going up or just a few? This leads to strategic questions. If human habitats in LEO are to become a permanent part of our sphere of influence, our presence must be valuable enough and affordable enough in economic, military, scientific, and political terms to become self-sustaining. Can human activity in LEO evolve beyond pure exploration to include a self-sustaining presence? What can humans in LEO do that will affect all of us in our daily lives? The transition from pure exploration to sustainable presence is very, very challenging, as we in this room know. Moreover, I believe that it is our main challenge for the ISS over the next 8 years. We're learning more about living and working in space. We're learning to make human presence easier and more valuable. We're working on both sides of the cost-benefit equation to find out how, when, and if an ongoing human presence in LEO will become self-sustaining. The microgravity biomedical research programs aboard the ISS, including the well-known identical twin study with Mark and Scott Kelly, help us to understand and mitigate the health effects of long-term space flight. New research on advanced ultrasound technology will improve diagnosis and medical care for people in space. Studies of changing metabolism, fluid migration, and bone loss in space have increased our understanding of the ill effects of space and how to mitigate these effects. Ongoing research on wound healing in space will undoubtedly save lives in the years to come, both here and in space. Indeed, not all health research involving the ISS will necessarily even take place on the ISS. Ground-based research into osteoporosis treatments and immune system changes has been vital to aerospace medicine. In 2017, I introduced the 2 Research, Evaluate, Assess, and Treat Astronauts Act, or the Treat Astronauts Act, which passed in the 2017 NASA Transition Authorization Act to broaden the body of data available about the long-term health effects of human spaceflight. The idea for that act actually came from a conversation that I had with Scott Kelly after he returned from his year in space. I asked him, what can we do for you? He said, keep our data, take care of our people. That legislation seeks to both provide for the ongoing medical care of our astronaut explorers after they come home and to help us learn to study the long-term effects of spaceflight on humans. Moving beyond health, there is a great deal of vital research helping reduce the costs and improve the effectiveness of human activity in LEO. Work on fluids mechanics, materials behavior, and heat management helps us build better machines, tools, and processes for use in space. Think of the lab on a chip, in-space gene editing, a demonstration of inflatable modules. These and other technologies are all ways that the ISS has made doing things in space easier, cheaper, and more effective. Reducing the cost and the difficulty of doing things in LEO is only half of the equation and not an end unto itself. We need to understand what activities beyond exploration roles are worth sending humans to do, and if there are any such jobs for humans in LEO at all. Experience shows that human extravehicular activities, like repairing satellites or assembling large structures, can be important. However, there is hardly enough demand for such work, at least so far, to make an ongoing human presence in LEO truly self-sustaining. Perhaps the most valuable human activities in space pertain to research. We all hope that human-led research on board the ISS will someday produce a dramatic, far-reaching discovery that will clearly affect every one of us down here on Earth. This kind of breakthrough success would make a very powerful case that extended human presence in LEO will definitely be a necessary feature for our global strategic ecosystem. And even if human-led research on ISS does not produce a major new discovery or discoveries here on Earth, perhaps we will develop a product made in space with a strong demand here on Earth. This might even demonstrate the value of human presence in low Earth orbit, and not only for research, but also for manufacturing. Early developments in space manufacturing, like 3D printing on the ISS, have cleared an important milestone. There are now clear instances where it is easier to make something in space than it is to build them on Earth and then launch it up to our astronauts. This may appear to be a very small change in capability, but it is a very concrete one. It is the equivalent of going from pre-cooked meals, if you will, to having a full kitchen. It may not sound like much, but it is clear and a concrete step on the road to permanence. Together, these scientific and engineering efforts are yielding steady progress to both sides of the cost-benefit equation for human habitation in LEO. More importantly, what we discover with this work tells us what a human society in space might look like and how it might be organized. The international partnerships that animate the ISS have shown that humans can create intricate international systems enabling complex construction, exploration, and utilization operations in space. It is almost impossible to imagine the ISS today without the crew and cargo transport provided by international partners or the modules, robotic arms, and other hardware coming from around the world, currently keeping the station alive and productive. Looking to the future, I believe that our committee is doing good, important work with the American Space Commerce Free Enterprise Act. And while it is still in the early stages, it is my firm belief that this legislation establishes a good philosophical basis for future regulation, incorporating sound legal and intellectual thinking, informing how we, at least us in the United States, will approach the further integration of space into our strategic ecosystem. Sometimes we have an ego system down here, don't we? Many issues remain unaddressed, including space traffic management and space situational awareness, which are subjects that will definitely require action very soon. One thing we know with great certainty about the future of ISS is that 2024 will mark the start of a dramatic transition in human presence in low Earth orbit. No one knows if that transformation will mean deorbiting the ISS, modifying it and extend operations, or establishing cost-sharing arrangements or distributing human presence to other as yet unlaunched habitats. These are decisions that will be strongly informed by what people like you can do and learn in the coming years. And while I don't know what form this transformation will take, I do know that in 8 years it will be well underway. If by 2024 we cannot demonstrate the economic sustainability of human presence in LEO, what does that mean? We will know that incorporating human presence in LEO into our sphere of influence is more difficult than we had hoped. I believe that it would be wrong to assume that this somehow closes the door on human spaceflight. Experience in space and on Earth argues that humans have a valuable and sometimes irreplaceable role in doing this exploration. And in addition, we may find that the particular conditions or opportunities elsewhere in the solar system may make a persistent human presence invaluable. Alternatively, perhaps, we simply have not done enough research to unlock some key technology for for microgravity manufacturing or sustaining human presence in low Earth orbit. In other words, failure to cost-effectively expand the human sphere of influence into LEO by 2024 means that we must do even more exploration work, including human exploration, to realize the potential of human presence and reach up into space. At a practical level, if we cannot start closing the economic case for human presence in LEO, then maintaining the ISS will remain a political decision. And this represents a dilemma. Should we double down on bringing low Earth orbit further into our strategic ecosystem, keeping the ISS running, hoping for a lucky break that will make the ISS sustainable? Alternatively, should we put low Earth orbit on the back burner and instead press on to the moon, Mars, and beyond, hoping that there's something out there that will permit a sustainable human presence in space? Do we keep betting on the same horse, or should we try our luck elsewhere? Moving beyond just the ISS, if human presence in LEO starts showing signs of economic sustainability before 2024, then we'll have some evidence that humans could start carving out new niches somewhere in space within a generation or two. This starts hinting at a natural cadence for expanding human influence and presence throughout our solar system. Excuse me. If through exploration we cannot find a way to get to the sustainable human activity in space, or even a sustainable robotic presence beyond Earth orbits, then we start to face uncomfortable questions. Will a lack of confidence in our ability to make exploration self-sustaining become a self-fulfilling prophecy? Will dividing our attention between LEO and places beyond Earth orbit end up shortchanging, thank you, Frank, shortchanging exploration somewhere, leaving some critical stone unturned? Will we discover that any further human reach into space is somehow fundamentally untenable and unsustainable? If humans cannot enhance their role in Earth orbit and cannot extend the human or robotic sphere of influence outward, is space exploration just an extravagant hobby? I don't believe so, and human history backs me up. Humans have spread across the face of the earth, migrating to all sorts of inhospitable places, tens of thousands of years before there was any human civilization to even speak of, let alone any talk of strategic value. Humans made the jump from powered flight to walking on the surface of the moon in just 66 years. Humans are capable of great, if sometimes unsteady, progress. We do know that the main human spaceflight countdown clocks, 2024 for humans in LEO and 2033 for humans to Mars, are both counting down right now. Both timelines are steadily converging, and pressure is mounting. The realities of physics and engineering hint that if we fail to take action on these challenges soon, exploration will become significantly more costly and more difficult. Nevertheless, as I said, I'm hopeful that we can face this challenge, and recent news about the National Space Council, newfound interest in space at the very highest levels of our government, and discussion about the merits of creating a space corps within the Department of Defense all point to a growing consensus in Washington about the strategic importance of space and the need to integrate it further into our sphere of influence. We all have a tremendous amount of work to do in the days, weeks, months, and years coming. We have seen and met challenges like this before. During the first decades of human expansion into space, of course, times have changed. We work and organize in different ways now, but those are comparatively small details. If we are to manage these tides and shifting currents wisely, we in Washington and elsewhere need to really and truly know what humanity can do in space. And that is the question that everyone here today can help us all answer. So I issue you a challenge to keep doing exactly what you are doing, because the sky is literally the limit. Thank you so very much for having me here today. And I wish you a very pleasant meeting, and God bless you and America and our space program. Thank you.
Can you stay here just 1 minute?
Sure, yeah. Absolutely. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Those were amazing remarks. And I think you all can see how fortunate we are to have this leadership on the Subcommittee for Space. Someone who is so well informed, well educated, so interested in what's going on in space, and who spent a lot of time studying it, apparently.
Trying to get sped up.
Yes, sir.
Up to speed.
Good for you, and thank you for doing that. But also a real human being who understands the importance of continuing exploration and committing yourself to something that really matters. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We really do appreciate that. And if you can stay here just 1 more minute,
Okay.
I'd like to turn the microphone over to Kirk Shireman, who has something for you.
Hey, Kirk.
How you doing, sir?
How you doing? Good to see you.
Thank you so much for being here, in appreciation for not only coming and speaking with us today, but for your for great support of International Space Station and exploration. We'd like to present you with this patch. This is actually from the first CASE's mission, Advancing Research Knowledge 1. It was 2014, flew aboard the International Space Station. So,
You bet. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much, Kirk. I appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Frank, thank you too.
My pleasure. Thank you for taking time this morning.
Have a great meeting. Appreciate you. And anyone, we have an open door policy in our office, and one of the most thrilling things I've ever done, even better than fixing teeth, has been being the Space Subcommittee Chair in the House of Representatives and getting to know and meet people like Kirk and Frank and some of you out here. And our open door policy is such that if you have any suggestions, we welcome that. That's what our representative government is all about. Thank you.
And if you're really lucky, they'll send you an invitation to their committee room.
And we have a hearing today.
Yes, sir.
We sure do. Thank you. Bye.